What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, the Great League meta has been kind of chaotic. I don't know about you guys, but it has been for me, and I decided to run with a team that could handle every single Annihilape and every single Poliwrath that there was out there. This team did so well for me this week. A lot of positive sets. Alolan Ninetales, Azumarill, and Gligar there as the safe swap. Face off against a lot of tough teams today, like Bastiodon and Victory Bell teams, all kinds of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know what you guys think about Annihilape. Has it been working well for you, or have you been getting triple hard countered like I've been doing to Annihilape teams? So let's go and get right into it. All right, getting into the first battle, we have Bastiodon on the lead. This is a bad lead, obviously. We're going to go ahead and go into Gligar. And this is what I found pairing Alolan Ninetales with a Gligar safe swap, is the Bastiodons probably have two things weak in the back to Gligar. Most commonly, something like Shadow Victory Bell, Poliwrath. There's the Shadow Victory Bell right there. I could have gotten away with overloading on energy on Gligar, making sure I had a charge move ready to go for Victory Bell, so we're going to fall a bit behind. But this is still a good situation for us where we can easily look to get two shields now from the Victory Bell, as we do have the Aerial Ace and the 1-0 shield with an Azumarill and no Shadow Victory Bell on the team is a very good situation to be in. I'm going to be completely honest. Now, my Azumarill is running Hydro Pump to help out against stuff like Bastiodon, maybe Galarian Stunfisk, maybe Registeel. So we do charm down. Alolan Ninetales doesn't care. Bastiodon now coming in, so we go straight into Azumarill, and this is where checkmate happens. If they have another grass like a Tropius or a Serperior, so be it. But most of the time, it has been Annihilape or it has been Wigglytuff, both of which, and here comes the Annihilape. So, unfortunately, no Annihilapes survived the battle against my team. They got taken out rather quickly. So this is going to be a good game to my opponent, as I can go ahead and go for another play rough now to take out the Annihilape, and then we should be able to bubble down the Bastiodon, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, moving to the next one, Ninetales versus Pidgeot. Charm does a lot of neutral damage right here, and Pidgeot loves to pair with stuff like maybe a Whimsicott, for example, which our backline can do pretty well against. Now, I don't want to get hit by a Brave Bird, so I will give up a shield here, and it was, so that's going to be a good shield on my end. They swap in, there's a Whimsicott. It's like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, come on, guys. Pidgeot is going to be pairing with a Mud Boy of some sorts. That's just a given. Considering what it's weak to and what it covers. It makes a good core. The synergy of Pidgeot and a Mudboy, so Quagsire, Swampert, or Whimsicott, is very strong. Now I'm going to go ahead and swap into Azumarill after keeping Alolan Ninetales alive, just in case I need that sacrificial swap later on. As sac swaps seem to get me a lot of victories when I keep them around, and I can catch the move, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and let this Whimsicott throw its energy, and then look to go for a play rough after we load up a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and go now. Yep, this should be enough to take out the Whimsicott, and we should be able to get to another charge move versus the Pidgeot if it decides to come in. So boom, down goes the Whimsicott, and now we will probably see if Pidgeot decides to come in. That'll be all right for us, but we actually do see a Sableye. This is huge. So the Sableye obviously wants to try to have an opportunity to farm down, which I'm not really going to let them do, as I would be able to get to another play rough here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and shield. This is going to force their hand to swap out, and if they don't, I get to this play rough in time. No, I don't. Unfortunately, the Sableye was able to tie me. A miscount on my end, but that is okay. We should still be able to win this game, as Gligar now comes in, and the Pidgeot is going to go ahead and come in. And what did we say earlier? Sac swaps are the name of the game. We're going to go ahead and go for Aerial Ace. It's not enough to KO, so we swap into Ninetales to charm down. Sableye is going to come in. It's going to get chunked, and now it's going to be a race to the charge move. Sableye to foul play or return. I don't think they have enough for return. So this is like, I think they still needed two more So this is going to be, it was a return. Uh-oh. So I've been off my miscounts when I'm going through the mindset of when I was battling this. I've been off my counts, but we were able to survive anyways. So little build up right there. Good game. All right, next up we have Serperior here on the lead. Not too bad for a Alolan Ninetales. As you guys can see, we can put in a lot of work. Where things get a little dicey is if we shield and they Leaf Tornado us and we get the debuff. But thankfully it is a Frenzy Plant, so we were able to stop that. And now we're going to go ahead and go for Weather Ball right away. I just want to try to get the Serperior out of the game. And they decide to shield, so that is going to be okay. As getting a shield is very advantageous for us because now we can safely let the Alolan Ninetales go because the Serperior is low enough where we can come in with Gligar and farm down with Wing Attack. So, Serperior out of the game. Azumarill has a lot of play. There could be a Lantern in the back. There always usually is. We do see a Jellicent swap in here. So, this is still going to be a tough game because if it is in fact a Lantern in the back, the core right here that I have is going to be broken. So what I have to do is catch a resisted charge move, which is what I look to do right here, catching that Surf, as it is going to be doing not too much damage. And they didn't swap out right away, so it wasn't Lantern in the back, thankfully. If it was Lantern, then I honestly think we just lose the game. There's really no play around that because we're just kind of hard countered in that situation. But with the Jellicent not swapping out, there could be a lot of things back there. As Play Rough here does get the final shield, I'm curious to see what it is, and my opponent is getting a bit greedy. They don't go for the Shadow Ball, which I think they had enough for, and I get to a Play Rough in time, which is going to allow me to KO. Boom, down it goes. Final Pokemon is going to be Medicham, so it was a good game either way. All right, moving to the next one, Skeledirge. This is a tough one. Skeledirge is a very strong Pokemon and good against this team, especially the Alolan Ninetales. Now, Altaria swapping in right here is kind of tough. The Gligar can still do some good neutral damage, but Dragon Breath is very oppressive. It really starts to add up in situations where you're not resisting it and you don't have a lot of bulk. So, for example, a Lickitung doesn't resist Dragon Breath, but its bulk allows it to survive quite a long time, whereas Gligar, we go down a bit quicker. So what I can look to do is shield this Sky Attack, as I'm going to be able to get to an Aerial Ace now. This might be able to get me Switch, and obviously if I get Switch with an Azumarill versus a Skeledirge, that's going to be very good for me. But unfortunately, Dragon Breath is just going to get the best of me right here as they decide to go for the Sky Attack. So we have to let this go. Now, the tough question is, do I just come in with Ninetales and farm down to be like 1 Charm, 2 at most? Or do I try to get energy on Azumarill? So I decide to Charm down. Now, this is where things get dangerous as I swap in right away, and we will find out very quickly that I am core broken. Their Skeledirge and Lantern core was a lot better than my Alolan Ninetales and Azumarill core. So what I want to do, this is normally a top left, like you see, it's just top left. Like you can't really finesse your way through this. But what I wanted to see is how much damage Alolan Ninetales can do resisted damage to the Skeledirge. So we're going to look to do that just for a reference note, because it's always good to know, especially down the line, if you're like, oh right, this charge move can do like 20% of their health. That might be worth throwing it, you know, or we have a win con potentially in some situations. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the Weather Ball. I know Psyshock is neutral, but I want to see how much Weather Ball does, Shadow Weather Ball, and it actually does a decent amount, maybe like 15% right there, plus Charms. We got it to 50% HP, so that's actually pretty reasonable. Now, obviously, we just straight lose. Good game to my opponent, but yeah, good knowledge to have for the future. All right, moving to the next one, we have Bastiodon once again on the lead, so we're going to run the same playbook of going into the Gligar right away and putting them between a rock and a hard place. Ironically, getting a Bastiodon in that situation is just irony written all over it, right? Now, Dig right here does a lot of super effective damage, and I made sure to overcharge on energy so that I can get to a charge move pretty quickly if they decide to swap in. Now, I'm going to go ahead and shield the Stone Edge. I want to maintain health here on Gligar because clearly they are core broken in some way, and I'm going to be able to outpace them to charge moves. As you guys can see, by the time they got to another Stone Edge, I have 2 more digs, so we are in a very good position. They just decide to let it go. Boom, down it goes. In comes a Sableye, and now we are looking very, very good. The only thing that could be dicey is a Shadow Victory Bell in the back, so I'm going to counter swap into Ninetales to force it out, but it's an Annihilape instead, and Alolan Ninetales is going on a tear. Oh, this is so satisfying. We're going to go ahead and shield, and Shadow Alolan Ninetales is going to be deleting the Annihilape and Sableye core after getting Bastiodon out of the way. And that is why, I mean, the Bastiodon teams, and what I mean by that is a team where Bastiodon's on the lead and then 2 of those Pokemon in the back. Good game to my opponent. The Gligar really messes those up. Alright, moving to the next one. We have Galarian Stunfisk. Similar to Bastiodon, you swap out right away into Gligar. They get a bit confused sometimes, and they actually swap in Lantern. So this is huge. This is really big for us as the opponent swaps in late, which means our dig is going to land before they can even start loading up on energy. And what I'm going to do here is try to go for shield baits. Now, this could backfire on me, and how it backfires is if they just decide to sacrifice the Lantern and call it good. But I'm going to go ahead and go for the bait after building up to dig, and they no-shielded it. So now I'm forced to throw right away against the Lantern, which is not ideal, but this actually puts them in a tough situation of do they give up a shield, and they don't. So we take out Lantern. Azumarill is now free. There's going to be a Talonflame in the back. So what we're going to do is load up on energy, swap into Azumarill now to catch that Flame Charge, which we know they're looking to throw here in a neutral situation against Gligar. Stunfisk comes in, and it's kind of like a checkmate situation. So good game, very well played. All right, moving to the next one. We have Whimsicott on the lead. Now, Whimsicott leads are pretty fun. I'm going to be completely honest. I loved using it on a lot of my teams earlier this season. Whimsicott puts in a lot of work, but unfortunately for Whimsicott, I have 2 Pokemon that shred it with fast move damage. So we're going to look to shield. They swap into Lickitung right here, and now we're going to start calculating like what could they have in the back. As a Lickitung safe swap with a Whimsicott lead, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Lantern, wouldn't be surprised if there's an Azumarill, or maybe even a Bastiodon. Those 3 is what I'm kind of calculating right here. So what I want to try to do is use Alolan Ninetales to get rid of Lickitung. That way Gligar can have a nice healthy matchup against the Whimsicott with Wing Attack. And then we'll have to see what the final Pokemon is. And it's a Talonflame. It's not even what I was expecting. It is a core. So granted, the Whimsicott and Talonflame cover each other's weaknesses, so that's fair. But I was really expecting something like Bastiodon, for example, especially with a Lickitung safe swap. So what we're going to look to do is no-shield the Flame Charge. They're going to go ahead and throw another charge move, probably going to be Fly here, which it is. And now I'm going to swap into Gligar because they swap into Whimsicott right away. That's just the play of what I was expecting them to do, and I waited to see. Right in the top right, you can see the icons come in before the Pokemon comes into battle. We no-shield the Moonblast as well because our win con right here is 3 Aerial Aces against Talonflame. Now, I messed up there not going for 2 wing attacks, so really far behind on energy on my end. Now I have to throw the next Aerial Ace, and this is where I could have just won it with Gligar alone had I gone for those extra moves, but unfortunately they farm me down. Now thankfully I banked a charge move here on Azumarill, so we CMP tie with Hydro Pump, and that is going to be a good game, very well played, as the Talonflame is going to try to fight us off here, but unfortunately Hydro Pump is just going to be too much damage. You'll love to see it. Boom! Down goes the Talonflame. So good battle. All right, moving to the next one. We have Charjabug here on the lead. Now, Charjabug does pretty well against both Alolan Ninetales and Azumarill, and that's because of just the raw damage it can do with Volt Switch. Now, granted, against Alolan Ninetales it is neutral, but with that added shadow against us that we have, or the added shadow damage, now I'm going to go ahead and throw Weather Ball here on CMP tie. We are able to win it, so it puts them in a tough situation of are they going to shield, and they do. So now I'm very curious to see what they are weak to. In the back, I'm going to go ahead and no shield though, as Discharge is not going to take us out. I'm going to swap in Gligar here to farm down. I want to save Alolan Ninetales for a sacrificial swap. And if they were weak to Alolan Ninetales in the back, odds are they're weak to Gligar or Azumarill, depending, based on the coverages that we could have, right? So we're going to go ahead and go for Aerial Aces here against the Gligar. Now, gotta start questioning what could it be in the back. If they come in with a Gligar Mirror, definitely behind on energy and even on shields, they must be extremely weak. And my fear is that it's a grass type in the back. Granted, Charjabug and grass may not be the best core because of a big weakness to fire, but even then, the most common fire is probably Talonflame. There's also Skeledirge. So what I decided to do is sack swap my Azumarill, or not the Azumarill, sorry, the Alolan Ninetales here to catch the charge move. So that's going to be huge for me. And now I got a big decision ahead of me. Do I come in with Azumarill and farm down and just hope for the best? That's what I'm going to do. Or come in with Gligar and have to give up a shield, right? So the best call here, I think, for me is to just trust in Azumarill to potentially win this game. They go for the dig, and the final Pokemon is actually going to be a Lantern. So it is a counter to Azumarill, which is going to be a tough matchup for us, but we still have our Gligar that is healthy with a shield and a little bit of energy. So what this opponent has to do is they have to get a Thunderbolt against the Azumarill to KO, and they have to go for 2 Surfs against Gligar. They're not going to be able to do that in time, as my Gligar does have a shield, and the opponent's Gligar as well is out of energy, as they went for a dig against Azumarill. So I can safely shield right here. Obviously I have to. It's the last Surf, and I don't actually need to overload on energy to make sure I can win the race to the charge move against the opponent's Gligar, because they're not going to get to one in time. Boom! Down it goes, and we fast move down the opponent's Gligar, and that is going to be a good game. Very well played. Alright, moving to the next one. Alolan Ninetales, Altaria. Very good lead. They swap into Azumarill. So what I'm going to look to do here is do as much charm damage as possible and then try to swap into my Azumarill to catch the charge move, but they don't throw. Well, they do now. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. I was hoping, well, I guess catching the play right, it didn't matter, but I wanted to chunk a lot of health, because now we're going to be in a situation where they're so far ahead on energy, but I'm ahead on health, that it's going to kind of even out. And what this is going to come down to is who wins CMP tie. Now, charge move priority, CMP tie, is based on your opponent's overall attack stat. That includes its base stats, and which is also included with the IVs, right? So that's the overall. So just because you have a high IV Pokemon doesn't mean you're automatically going to win. But in that situation, I did, because it's a mere Azumarill fight, and my Azumarill is not XL. Now, the final Pokemon here is going to be Surfetched, which is obviously going to be a good situation for us if we go ahead and go for Play Rough. Now, I make a mistake here and switch into Gligar. Granted, they throw the energy anyways, but ideally I should just be letting the Azumarill go down, because now I'm switch locked against the Altaria. So a slight misplay on my end, but what this is going to show, regardless of how this comes out, is just how spammy a Gligar can be in some neutral situations. We talked about earlier how it can't tank Dragon Breath that well, and I think that doesn't give it enough credit, because other Pokemon take way more damage from it than a Gligar does. So for a flyer that takes neutral from Dragon Breath, it actually hangs on pretty well. And with the Wing Attack fast move, it gains energy very quickly. So we are able to get this Altaria extremely low. Now, what we have before us, battlers, is what we could like to call the Peekaboo. I think Caleb coined it the Peekaboo. Someone coined it the Peekaboo. But what you guys are going to see is in order for me to win this game is I can't give up 2 shield. Altaria probably has 2 sky attacks or near 2 sky attacks. So I can't give up a shield because the Sirfetch'd might have a Brave Bird or be able to get to a Brave Bird. I don't think it's going to get there in time, but we're just going to practice as if, right? So what you guys are going to see me do is I'm going to wait out this switch clock. The reason being is I know my Azumarill is going to be able to be swapped in if that timer gets to 0 or near 0. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to come in with Alolan Ninetales, and then right away, I switch into Azumarill. You guys can see the swap. I came in with Ninetales, I press the switch button, and sure enough, we get the Sky Attack. So that was a successful peekaboo. Really happy that I could pull it off. Not that I needed to in order to win this game, because they didn't have 2 Sky Attacks either way. And yeah, they won't be able to get to another charge move in time. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. All right, moving into the final battle, we have Jellicent here on the lead. Now, a Jellicent lead, this has Bubble as well, so Gligar matchup is going to be a lot more dicey. What we want to do is just get it out of the game. I'm going to be completely honest. I want to get this thing out of here. We get it to 50% HP by the time they get to the charge move here. And now we're going to go for Weather Ball. This is going to be resisted, but if we get a shield, sweet. So that's gonna be perfect. And now we're gonna go ahead and double shield here. We want to get this Jellicent out of the game. It causes a lot of trouble for our team, and they actually swap in a Charjabug, which is also a tough situation. So now I have to go for Weather Ball, and then I need to look to come in with Gligar here, as it can do quite a bit of neutral damage with Wing Attack because of that Bug Electric typing there. And then we also don't take too much from the charge moves here from Charjabug, as X-Scissor is going to be resisted, Discharge is going to be resisted, and if they add Crunch, that's the one that does neutral. But most run with X-Scissor and Discharge there. So we're going to be able to commit to the full farm down, which is beautiful. And this is a good situation to be in. If you have no shields and you have a lot of energy, it's almost as if you had a shield, right? Because the Jellicent, actually they have a Weavile in the back. This is super spicy on their end. So hats off to my opponent for running the Shadow Weavile here. That's super cool, but unfortunately for them, I have 3 Aerial Aces ready to go, and I have an Alolan Ninetales, and I have an Azumarill. So we're just going to go ahead and come in, and we're going to Charm down. They swap into Jellicent, so there's nothing that can do, and then that is going to be a good game. The Weavile, though, going to fight the good fight. They're going to throw the Avalanche here, I think, against us. Yeah, it KOs us. Boom. And then we come in with Gligar to fast move down. That's going to be a good game. Very well played. Overall, this team was a lot of fun. It did very well against anyone running the Annihilape. Did well against Poliwrath teams. I know we didn't see it, but it would do well against Poliwrath teams. Azumarill does well. Gligar, Wing Attack, Charm, Alolan. I mean, come on, you guys can see that. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Give this team a try, and like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.